Welcome to the Wedco podcast, where wedding wisdom meets street smarts.
We're dishing out all the tips, tricks, and wedding goss to take your wedding to the next level.
Time to ditch the formalities and get this party started.
Yeah!
Awesome. All right, thanks so much for everyone coming down. Really appreciate it. This is cool to be able to see some beautiful faces here again and some new faces too. I just wanted to bring Stephen down to kind of hang out with us today. My story is that pretty much in June this year, I had one wedding booked for 2025 and I was like stressing my head off. I definitely have enough work outside of weddings to kind of keep going, but I was definitely freaking out big time. And so everything I had kind of done for the last 10 years was definitely not working anymore. And a lot of people I was speaking to in the industry, when I could actually speak to them and we weren't at a social event and everyone's like, yeah, everything's amazing. You know, they kind of said like a lot of people were feeling pretty similar to the way that I was feeling. So I got an Instagram ad come across my feed. You did really well there.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Steve's from the Wedding Marketing Co. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I was at the point where I was like, I need to throw money at this and I need to book 2 weddings to pay for it unless I'm screwed. And like, that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like, it was coming from like this fear mentality, but I was just like, well, I need to do something or else like, what do I do from here? And then, so I contacted these guys. This is kind of why I wanted to have them up as well, because obviously there's a million different marketing and advertising agencies everywhere. I just had to take the leap, and you guys are honestly the ad that came across when I was ready to take the leap, and then I saw you guys, I was like, cool, let's just go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring you down here and, well, obviously, I don't know if you know, like things have changed a lot for me. And I don't know, like it's hard for me to justify, like, I don't think my work's overly, exceptional above any other photographer whatsoever. There's a lot better photographers out there. Is it the podcast that's helping out a lot? But the difference is like I've had now 24 weddings in the last 4 months. It's like 140 grand's worth of work. I've had to pay money for that, which in the past I haven't. So it kind of felt bittersweet at the start where you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to spend $1,500 every single month to get this work. And in the past, you kind of didn't have to. You just kind of did whatever you did, like share on Facebook or boost a post for $50 here and there, and you kind of get bookings. But it's kind of been a big shift for me. I guess I've got to run this like a business in this day and age, or else I'm going to be left behind. So I just wanted to kind of bring Stephen to have a little bit of chat about meta ads and what these guys specialize in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for coming, and that's a really powerful story. So I really do appreciate you sharing that as well. I'm glad we could help. Everyone has pretty much experienced that same thing as well, as have I. If you guys don't know, I run my own wedding photo video business as well. And I had the same struggles, not getting consistent leads and things like that. But I started my business in 2018, doing the odd photo video job, picking up marketing jobs, businesses, cafes and things like that.
And where are you from?
Newcastle. Yeah. So I grew up on the Central Coast and just service the Hunter Valley now for weddings. But, I pretty quickly got into the field of weddings in 2019. I realized it was fun, it was profitable, and you can make a fair bit of money doing that while having a good time. So, I started to pick that up. I reshifted my whole business to just do weddings in 2019, but then COVID hit. So that kind of shut everything off and, made it a little bit of an issue with getting no work. So I come out of COVID, and I'm sure you would have experienced this. You've got a massive slump of work. Everyone came through. Yep. And it made it really easy. You didn't have to do any work to get the weddings. So I had that same experience. I booked 65 weddings for 2022. I do photo and video, so I was getting team members to shoot the other position. Now I was editing everything myself. So I edited 65 photo video weddings in 2022. And by the end of that, I was like, fuck this. I'm not doing this again. It was just way too much. It was so much stress. And at the peak of my backlog, it was like, I had 25 video edits to do, and it was 6-month turnaround. So it's just not feasible, right? So at that point, I was like, I'm either going to reshift my whole business, or I'm just going to leave. I'm going to leave the wedding industry. So, I started to think a bit more about business, a bit more about my systems, and figure out how I can actually think about this as an actual business. Think about the systems I can implement to scale this a little bit smarter. So shortly after doing that, I hired my first editor, who's still a part of my team. He's been on my team for 18 months now. And that gave me the time to focus on the systems that I needed to actually implement. Like
in-house in Australia, or have you got
he's
that
overseas,
outsourced? Yeah, okay.
but he's full-time. Well, he was overseas, now he's in Sydney actually. So he moved over, but like I just pay him a full-time wage, and he works for me, and I did a 6-month training period to get him up to scratch, and I haven't edited a wedding film since that point. So it was allowed me to take my hands off and realize, okay, he's editing just as good as I was. I trained him up in the exact way that I was able to learn the ropes myself, and he's doing the same work. So now I have time to think about systems. I have time to think about how I can scale my business. So that was about October last year, and since that point I focused on getting more bookings, a little bit of ads, and then I came to Nithu, who is my business partner, and we worked on this system for Wedding Marketing Co. for my other business. And since that point, I booked 500K worth of weddings in that 13th month period. So all we did was figure out a system that worked, implement that, and that's just the exact same system that you use as well for obviously ads coming through, and that's what I'm going to kind of get into today.
Yeah,
so
okay, cool.
it's all you need to do in business is find what works. Use the information that you get, like you would have seen the ads come through, leads come through. Now you're figuring out what works with communicating with the leads and things like that.
I've never had that problem where I've never had enough leads that I could actually learn how to sell. It's like I just get so hyped, like, oh shit, a lead, and it's like, and now it's like actually getting enough leads, you can like actually start to see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah,
that's a whole new thing for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like Steve calls me on the week, I got 10 leads.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
But look, all ads are is just getting eyeballs to your business. It doesn't really change like the leads, it's just more eyeballs. So without the rest of the systems that you actually have to build, like what I'll get into today by giving value, giving people information, like you're not going to book things if you don't have all the other groundwork done. If you get more eyeballs to it, like an underperforming business that doesn't give people value or doesn't allow people to understand what you do quickly, you're just kind of spending money for nothing.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that first, if you're going to advertise, you need to make sure that you communicate what you do effectively to people for sure. Yeah.
Those emails I get from Nithu, like, hey, can you do this for me? And like record this in front of here. I'm like, right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like putting your face in front of a camera, is just a very good way to build trust, right? So that's a piece of, I guess, one of our systems. Getting in front of camera, like Alina did as well. Get in front of the camera, build the trust for your customers. So they get a bit of an understanding of what you're like immediately.
Yeah.
And that kind of just builds that rapport, so people can understand a bit more about you. But before I kind of get too far into the systems, that is a very vital part that everyone should understand as well. We have to build trust with people because they're planning their wedding with us. Like it's a huge thing. They're spending a lot of money. And it's a big responsibility. So we need to build that trust immediately when someone looks at our website, looks at our landing page, or looks at our ad. Because otherwise, like they're just going to look for someone else who has that trust. And if you are going to go down the route of ads, and a really easy way to do that is get on camera or actually be in the flesh at a wedding with a bride and groom next to you, showing that you are doing exactly what you say you are.
Yep.
And we really need to lean heavily into social proof, like the reviews and things, which is...
That's all the stuff that sucks.
Like having to scrape back all the weddings you've done and get those reviews so you actually can show up and tell people who are going through your systems, going through your business, looking at your business, what the past couples have actually, looked at and what they've done, how they've experienced the day with you. So
for sure.
all of that is so, so important before you even think about actually advertising. We need to have, because you didn't have many reviews before you came to us. And you had to go through
There's
and
scrape.
scrape.
There's a lot of homework for me to do to do this. So I was like, okay, cool. Because like otherwise I feel like even if you have ads turned on, but you don't have all that other stuff, you're just going to be kind of wasting money.
Yeah,
Because like people are going to see the ads, but then they're probably not going to click or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. And look, if without giving a clear expectation for someone to know where to go next on that ad as well, if you're just throwing someone to your homepage, for instance, they're not going to know what to do next. Or if you're just going to Instagram, if you're boosting a post, I always get just lost in reels. I would not click on an ad and then go through the funnels trying to figure out what to do next if I was on someone's Instagram. So every part of the journey, if you're doing ads or if you're even on Instagram, you want to lead someone to that next point. Tell them what to do. So when someone looks at your business, they shouldn't have to think, okay, what am I trying to do in this next point? You should be coming to them by saying, this is what you need to do next in our journey, or this is the next piece of information you should understand about our business. This is how we show up to these weddings and things like that. It's so important to take the guesswork out of people's journey through you.
And I think also knowing that like it's so transparent for us. Like when I like sign up for a course and they're kind of running you through that whole landing page, you're like, I know exactly what you're doing. You know, you're telling me all about like how good this course will be, and this is how good they did with the course, and this is how much money you'll make, and you know exactly what they're doing. But also, like, your clients probably aren't seeing stuff like that every single day.
Exactly.
So they're just seeing, they're like, oh, this is awesome, and like kind of working through the funnel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope they're not planning a wedding every single day, right? I hope they haven't been to as many weddings as we have.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't have this experience.
Yeah.
That we obviously do. We are in the industry, we see all these images and we see other people's work and things like that. But it's just so important to set that next expectation in the journey. I like to think of this whole experience as like a river, right? So each part of the journey, so your ad is the start of the river. Each part, your landing page is the next part. You want to set that next expectation, because if you don't, the river splits into like 5 different areas, because people get lost in Instagram, they get lost on your services page, about page, contact. Like, give them everything they need to make a very clear objective so you don't lose leads. Because if you throw 10 different links at them, you're just going to lose people that get distracted. They might have like their kid come up and they're lost in their train of thought, or someone might call them or something like that, and they don't know where they're actually up to. Yep. So that's why a landing page is so important, and that's a vital part of Wedding Marketing Co.
Yep.
So obviously, I run Wedding Marketing Co. with my business partner, Nithu and Bryce. Nithu runs a marketing agency as well. Obviously, you're one of our clients too. Yep. So we've built this system off of my business, what has worked over the last 7 years and what we've kind of proved to actually work. And one of that like very vital pieces is a landing page.
Yep.
Now, do many people know about landing pages here? Like, is this fresh to some people? Yeah, so a landing page essentially is your whole website like coming from an ad just put on one page. So you don't want things that are too distracting so people can like go off. You don't want external links. You just want everyone to be on one page.
So is that like a hidden page on your website? Or
yeah, it can be. Work? Yeah, like just don't have to link it to anywhere else. Just a hidden page is fine. But you're linking that to the ad, so that they have the expectation of clicking the ad. Now they're on the landing page. And on that landing page, you just want to fill someone in with the whole journey about either booking with you, what makes you different, you know, what they should expect with actually going with you, how you actually show up to your weddings, which is something that we built for you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And have you found that that's been really helpful?
I mean, I think it has to, because like even Al and I have kind of compared, like we run pretty similar ads, and then even Al will like kind of have a click through, but then actually people going and filling out the information and actually submitting the lead is a lot like really noticeably less.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to like figure out, is like, I'm always trying to justify like, well, what's working. And that's, I think the landing page is like the big one.
Yep.
Because probably more people are clicking through with your ad, but then way more people actually filling out the contact form and everything on the landing page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have like 30 to 40 people click through, but then to actually fill it out. And I think like what you said, if there's not a clear journey the whole way down, you lose them.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been word of mouth for so many years. And I would still say that's the majority of weddings that I book is word of mouth and from past clients and past couples. But yeah, definitely like looking at Steve's going like, wow, he's never seen these people before. They're all new eyes on the ad.
Yeah, it's all like cold leads coming through and they're actually inquiring, which is epic.
Yeah.
Because like they would never come through.
Yeah, exactly. And look, like that could also maybe be an ad thing as well, because with an ad, you know, I'm not sure how deep you've looked at the data, because obviously you have access to your ads manager, but we don't need a bucket full of leads or a bucket full of people coming through. That we just need highly qualified leads. And with that comes down to like the person you're actually speaking to in the actual ad. So you want to be speaking to the right person. So obviously we've figured out your client avatar. Yep. We're just speaking to that one person that you're trying to get that wedding for.
Yep.
And you don't need to, you know, talk to the masses and do like a shotgun approach, because that's why a landing page does work so well, because they've already seen that previous expectation in the ad and you're showing up in the exact same way on that landing page.
Yeah, okay.
So the conversion rate, it doesn't change because they know exactly what to do next.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So the ad still feels like you, the landing page still feels like you.
Yeah.
So it's just getting to highly qualified traffic is the main thing, because speaking exactly about like what you do, how you show up in the ad really is beneficial to that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple of things that you need to consider about ads. It's about building that trust and like, I guess, urgency and making sure that you kind of set the expectations of what you do and how you do it. And also building a really good offer is important. So like everybody here does something different in their business to each other. Like we all do photo, we all do video, but to a client, without extracting what you do different, they kind of all look the same, like except for the absolute top of the industry. It's all it meshes together pretty effectively.
Yeah.
Without someone who's really deep in the industry, we need to extract what makes us different. As I said, I have a team, so my difference is I can do everything within 4 weeks.
Yep.
So I'm able to highly produce photos and videos and deliver that in 4 weeks. So an offer just extracts what makes you different. We've figured out your offer, what makes you different to everybody else that catches someone's attention.
Yep.
And then you can sell them on the experience once they come through to that landing page.
I think that's a hard part for everyone, because like everyone's like, I'm not special. Like everyone feels the same thing. Like, yeah, I know I'm good at photo, I'm good at video, but then everyone's like, but like, what's different? Yeah, I can be bubbly and I can kind of run a day and everything, but it's really hard to kind of pinpoint what your selling point is. And that's why I've always struggled with branding. Like when you see, like Josh Withers and like even Annie and stuff, like their branding is so strong. I'm like, I'm not that unique. So it's hard. I feel like it's hard for a lot of people to kind of really pinpoint what that difference is.
Yeah. And look, that is a really difficult thing to
Yep.
pinpoint if you haven't tried to, go through the paces of figuring that out. But it could just be, if you really like to be in depth with someone's wedding, you could sell that you help them plan and things. So
Yep.
build those info packets, for instance, of timelines, examples and things, and they can come to you almost like a wedding planner or something like that.
Yep.
If you like to be really in deep in the experience, what you do differently could just be that you help them plan the whole process and have more conversations rather than just coming up to the wedding day.
Yeah,
so that's
sure.
something that could be different, or it just could be something like, if you do photo and you wanted to do video, adding on like a photo video team and having just 2 people you work with or something like that. It is a really difficult thing.
And I
to
think
kind of nail
it's
down.
interesting, like I was talking to Sam the other
I was going
day.
to shout out Sam as well.
Yeah, like, because I reached out to Sam and I love Sam's approach. He actually helps the couples. Like from the very start, like right up until the wedding, they know him already because of his marketing.
His back end
But
as well.
his back end is so good, and like he's so like I love like that we're doing this again, because I actually met Van at a coffee catch up like 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, and learning from each other. Hey, what do you do? And Sam was just encouraging me, like, hey, I send out an email like. Along the journey, and like you said, it's such a journey, and if the couple knows what's going to happen next, they feel so much more confident in you. So by the wedding day comes, they're just like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And look, that is a perfect example of what makes someone different. That makes Sam different, for instance.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
figuring out.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But no, like some of those things do take, weeks or months to try to figure out, but that's what, we kind of do like as well. It's a difficult process to actually figure out, but everybody does have something that makes them different. It's about how they show up on the day or what they actually do differently to each other. But it is kind of difficult because kind of a grand scheme of things, like we are just kind of taking photos or taking videos, but that everybody has something that they can lean on to make themselves different.
Yeah, sure.
So leaning on what makes you different and really expressing that through the whole section of your business is super important. So that allows you to stand out from everybody else.
And I guess then people talk about that experience too with others.
Yeah, exactly. And then word starts to spread and things. So I guess before you start ads, you need to make sure that you obviously figure out that difference as well. And then make sure that the rest of the funnel that I'm going to run through today is kind of down pat. Otherwise, you'll just be speaking to no one, essentially. Yeah. So one of the most important things, and you would know this because of the increase of bookings, is actually communicating to our customers. Like a lot of people, I don't know, I think it's a bit of an ego thing. Maybe we think our photos and videos are too good, but people don't follow up in this industry, and we know this because we've had people come to us and they say that they never follow up with anyone. They just send out the pricing guide and info packet and wait for people to come to them. And that's quite unfortunate because it's doing a really big disservice to the people that actually come to you, Because they come to you because they care about your work, they care about your information, they want to learn more.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just throwing something at them and just being like, you're not worth my time.
Yeah.
So
I had a Zoom call with a couple on Monday night, and like I still feel gross. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to sell to them, but then like halfway through the call, they're like, thank you so much for putting this on.
Yeah.
Like no one else, like it's maybe I got 2 phone calls, but like no one else would offer us a Zoom call,
Yeah.
and they're like super thankful for that.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool.
yeah, and like it feels a bit maybe I guess gross at the start,
Yeah.
but I think it's just the way that you think about it,
Yeah.
right? If you shift the mindset to be like, okay, I'm going to talk to my leads. So what I do is I call every single lead because I want to have that conversation with them. And then one of two things will either happen. They'll pick up and they'll say that they're busy, or they won't pick up. And if they pick up and they say that they're busy, I'll organise another call, or I can actually get them on the phone and actually have that conversation.
Yep.
So a lot of people maybe feel a bit uncomfortable about making those calls and having those conversations. But every single time that I've talked to someone in like my whole 7 years of business, I've never had someone blow up at me and get angry that I'm bothering them. We're just trying to have normal conversations and treat people like humans because they're inquiring with you for a reason. So why would you kind of do them the disservice of not talking to them and communicating with them?
Yeah.
All marketing is communicating with people and letting them know what to do next.
Yeah.
So
That's like a massive flip for most people, like myself included, is like, that you're not hassling them.
Exactly.
You know, like, yeah, it's hard because like I know as soon as you like apply for solar and then all of a sudden you get like 5 calls, like and that's the only thing you have to think of. You're like, dude, I didn't want any of you to call me. I just wanted prices.
Yeah.
You know, but like people are inquiring for their wedding day, so it's definitely a very different thing than getting solar.
And look, it does come down to how you actually do it as well. Like that you can do it in a sleazy way.
Yeah.
But we've always found that if you're following up with people and you say you follow up 2, 3, 4 times, just follow up with them with a different way of communicating. You just don't say the same freaking thing like 4 times.
Check it in.
We were talking about follow-up emails the other day, and I realised like so many times it will go into junk mail. So I do have like a, hey, just checking back, it might have landed in junk mail. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's in junk mail. And here I am just sitting there going, they hate me, they think I suck.
Exactly.
They've picked Steve, not me. And like, you know, like you can be so worried about something that like if you just follow up and ask.
Exactly.
Like, oh yeah, it is, Al, here's the money. I'm like,
yeah. The main thing is just asking, asking if people are busy, just calling them like when they inquire and just say, hey, have you got some time to chat? The worst that they're going to do is just say, no, sorry, I'm busy.
One of the biggest things that Steve and I actually put in our thing is like, is it okay for me to give you a call? Question mark.
Yeah, most of them say yes.
And when they say yes, then we don't feel as bad calling them because they've given us permission, and that's really helped me. Because I FaceTime everyone, so I'm like, do you want to FaceTime or a call?
Yeah, exactly. And since you've started doing that for both of you, has that really picked up the communication with people?
I'm still not that good at calling. Like there'll be days where I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm going to call these 2 or 3 people, and I do. But then there'll be other days where I'm still like, I don't feel like that. And it's just like the mood that you're in yourself.
Yeah.
And even though you like know this is the good thing to do, it still doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
But getting better, like building up with that.
Yeah, for sure. And look, it just comes with reps.
Yeah.
Like it comes with doing it over and over again. But in your experience, have you had people come back to you in a bad way at all?
No, never.
Exactly.
Never. Like it's just your own perception of dealing with some dickhead in the past.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. On the opposite end, right?
Yeah,
you don't want to
exactly.
feel like that you're bothering them.
Yeah.
But a simple way to do that is just treat people like humans. You know, like they're coming to you because they want to have those conversations. They want more information.
Yeah.
So if we're just asking them simple questions about their wedding day, and when we get them on the phone, asking them questions and getting them to talk, like you're not going to come across as salesy.
I hated this at school, but do you mind if we ask like who actually calls leads when they come in? Does anyone? So there's not many. Yeah.
I find a text.
Yep.
Yeah, I send a text just to be like, hey, we got your inquiry, and then we'll, because they end up in spam, and
They do.
I can see in our system that we use if they've opened it.
Yep.
But then I send that text message, and the amount of conversations that has sparked, if and then I'll get we've just got that proposal, and then they'll have, I've got a few questions about this, and then it's, and it's, sometimes you're doing admin at 9 o'clock at night, depending on whatever, so it's always, excuse the late time, but I'm just letting you know I have gotten back to you, or it has been a day later because we've been at a wedding, and the response I've gotten from the text message has been better.
Yep.
And then
I guess
then
it's
they
more
can
personal,
call,
right?
Yeah,
It
and
feels.
then they can call me later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they have my number, which they're going to need at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then they've got two aspects to contact, I find, because text messages don't go to spam.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And look, texts obviously work. We implement text as well. That's a massive thing that we do.
Yeah.
You should be texting every lead, calling every lead, and sending the emails with the same information. It's just 3 points of different contact, because people, they get busy, and if you send them that information, maybe at 9 o'clock at night, or they might not get to that for a few days. So a simple follow-up call, just being like, hey, have you got some time? With it, saying this, it does come with nuance as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to do it at the right time. There's only a kind of 2-hour window that we are able to do this, unless a lead comes directly into your system.
Yeah.
So I call a lead as soon as they come in, within an hour time span, or I just call people in the afternoon.
Yeah. Okay.
Outside of that, I don't really bother people, because it's tricky planning a wedding, because people are at work and then they come home and they don't have much time. But also sending the text as well is very powerful.
One of the things I found too, as a creative, we can use that excuse of I'm so creative, I just can't focus on business.
Yeah.
But I found some of the best photographers are maybe not the best photographers, but they're amazing at business and working on their business and communicating.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing is having a system in place. So I'm it's real clear for me too. So I'm clear with them.
Mm-hmm.
It cuts out all that confusion. Call client now.
Yeah.
Tick. It's done. What's the next thing?
Exactly.
So I come across as clear rather than just this scattered creative.
Exactly. And we need to be clear with those business systems. And it's good that you bring that up, because with Wedding Marketing Co, we've had some of the top people in Australia come to us struggling with bookings. Because they're so creative, and we don't understand these systems. We don't understand how to actually run a business.
Yeah.
They're two entirely different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be able to implement this and get out of our own way to have the conversations with people.
I guess even setting up that Calendly link.
Yeah,
the other day, we're we're going to do, what are you doing today, Steve? I'm doing the calendar. I'm I'm going to do it too. We did it. Yes, we did it. But it works, right?
It works, yeah.
It really worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess if you're going to take anything out of today and these conversations, it's just please contact people, have those conversations with people,
Yeah.
because it's so important just to treat our leads like normal humans, because they are expecting that. We need to take ourselves out of the equation, take ourselves and ego out of the way, and just put our best foot forward and talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But look, if people haven't responded, and that's fine, right? Following up with them via text and email is also a very crucial thing. And that's something that's huge with our follow-up system that you would have implemented as well.
Yeah.
But there's a few ways to do this. We follow up with people every 3, 7, 10, and 2 weeks, every 3, 7, 10, and 14 days. But each part of that process, we just bring up a different piece of information. So like you said before, you don't want to be annoying.
Yeah.
You don't want to be salesy. So just provide people with that next set of information, or that next thing they should consider. For one of those pieces, I just send all our couples through my own wedding photo video business, just a guide for how to plan their wedding.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sending them information with a actual call link, so they can book it in on their own time as well.
Yeah.
But each part of the journey, we're just checking back in with people, setting a new expectation, setting some new information to them, and just simply asking them, for a time for them to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found that's been a
Yeah,
pretty vital part
Same
of
thing,
you?
got a little a wedding timeline planner.
Yeah.
And then the next one might be testimonials with 3 or 4 testimonials with some pictures, and then hey, and also I always book in with a Zoom call with my clients. And then that was the one that on Monday I booked, where they hit the second email and booked from the second email. Whereas if I didn't send that, would they have emailed back? Probably not.
Exactly.
Realistic.
Yeah. Because people get busy, they forget.
Yeah.
And I think we just put ourselves to this pedestal where people are going to come back to us, and we think they haven't inquired with anyone else. But the truth is, planning a wedding is tough.
Yeah.
And if your work obviously speaks for itself, but it's likely that we'll get lost in the mix of everyone else.
Is it important? Is the language important in these emails?
For sure. Yeah. So you want it to just be relaxed. You want it to be easygoing, and you want it to be guiding people through. So you don't want to just be super forceful, but I guess it does depend on your brand as well. So you have to everything that you do should be how you actually are as a person.
Yeah.
So for me, my whole company, the way that we shoot our weddings is just super relaxed. So that's an important thing as well, to get that exact avatar for the ads as well. You don't want to paint yourself in the wrong picture, because if you're just kind of just trying to do a shotgun approach and you get the wrong weddings, then that's when you get bad experiences and bad reviews. So for my whole experience, I just want people who want to enjoy their wedding day, have a good time. They're not looking for super like forced like fashion, editorial vibes. We're just there to capture them having a good time and aid them through the process, guide them throughout the whole experience. So that is documented throughout my whole like email journey as well, and all my text conversations and everything. It's just relaxed, easygoing. But it does come down to like what type of person you are and how you want to present yourself, for sure. But at the end of the day, if you're just providing people with information, giving them the next step, they can just take it on their own terms as well. You're not going to be seen as pushy, or, it's not going to be gross in anyone else's eyes.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I've talked a bit about, how important it is to actually call people, but what do you actually do on a call? So that's a whole nother thing, and it's a very in-depth conversation. But we do 2 calls here. And are you still running with this process, or do you just go straight to a Zoom?
Pretty much straight to a Zoom, actually.
Yeah. So what we recommend with Wedding Marketing Co. is 2 calls.
Yeah.
So a quick phone call just to suss out the vibe of the wedding, right? You want 5 minutes just to make sure that is the right client avatar. Because if it's not, then you can just recommend them to someone else. Someone else in the industry, you can send them over, and then you build up a better relationship with people surrounding you. But you want to suss out that person before you kind of just set the wrong vibe for them. So a quick phone call just to say, okay, your wedding fits our vibe in this way. Ask them heaps of questions, get them talking, get them to kind of talk about their day, how they want to actually live that day. And that's just a 5-minute phone call, super easy. But then on that phone call, it's super important to lock in the next appointment. So locking in a Zoom, which is super vital, which you would have found for booking. Having that Zoom is the most important point of the sales process, but you want to lock that in on that actual phone call. So say next Wednesday, we'll catch up, both you and your partner, we'll walk through everything together.
So is this is just like an introduction?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, hey, how do you want to actually live your day? Here's what we do and here's how we can help.
And you give them space to think about it. So you're not trying to close them then?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I don't even talk about price. Like, they already have my pricing. I don't talk about what package works or anything like that. It's literally just, this is the vibe you want, this is what we do, and here's how we can help. And here's maybe what you should consider in between now and the next call, which I always ask them to think about from both their perspective and their partner's perspective, how they actually want to experience the wedding day, how they actually want to remember it with our services, photo, video.
Because I've never done this. Do you feel, are they ever going like, so how do we book you, like on that call?
Not really, because I set that expectation. I'm like, okay, here's at the start of the call, I just say, so what we're doing now is just having a quick 5-minute chat to see if we fit the vibe. If we do, we'll catch up for that next Zoom, and we'll talk with both you and your partner to walk through the whole process.
Awesome.
And then they already know what to expect, right?
It's almost like you're qualifying them a little bit as well.
Exactly.
Because it's like, like they have to feel like they have to work a little bit hard to book with you, which I think that's a big thing. Is like everyone's like feels like all the power is in the couple's corner. Whereas like, if you're kind of qualifying them a little bit, you're almost chasing you. Yeah. Which is good.
And look, we should have the power of the conversation because we do this every day. We know what to do. We know how weddings work. So we should be guiding our couples through these parts of the journey. So the person who is asking all the questions has the power in the conversation. And it's important that we hold that because we know what to do. And we know if they are wrong for us, we will know that by the questions that we ask them. So it's super important that we are guiding the conversation, that we are, saying the right things and giving them the right information about us, because that gives us a vibe if they're wrong. So I always lock in that next Zoom call on that phone call, because it's just easy. You don't want to go back and forth, look at calendars. It's just a pain in the ass. Like, if it's simply like, if they don't want to go ahead, they can just cancel that meeting. It's no issue at all. But that's quite rare. People always show up to that call just to get that more in-depth information from us. But that Zoom call, which you would know, is the most important part of the journey. Having that in-depth conversation with both partners, walking them through all the experiences of how you service them, or getting them to talk about their actual day. I always like to get the couple to talk first for about 15 minutes. I ask them questions about their wedding, about their plans, about how they actually want to experience the day and remember it with my service. Walking them through what that might look like in 10 years' time. And then that gives me a good idea of what's important to them for like my service, right? So how I need to capture it, what inclusions are actually super important, because you know, without that, they might have an album that's super important. They might forget on that call, and then they send me the quote. So I ask them all those questions to build what's important, so then I can sell what I think works for them. And we were speaking before this, and you had a call similar. Was it a couple of days ago? Where you were talking. You asked them those questions, and they thought they wanted the top package, right?
It's like most people like, because they can kind of click what collection they think would be best for them, like when they do the lead form. So they click like the top collection, which pretty much everyone does. And then I was chatting to them, and they were like, look, you know, we're gonna have one bridesmaid, one groomman. We just want the portraits of ourselves. We don't want to take them away or anything. And it was good. Like I could kind of talk to them and be like, look, if you had like 5 or 6 groomsmen and that, and like this was going to be a party and you wanted people back at, you know, someone documenting canapes and also here, I'm like, you want to go to the top package because you've got another, like a third person there. And then just telling them like, look, I think the middle collection would kind of suit you better. And as soon as I told them that, they were on board. Because I was taking, you know, like $2,500 off the table by that stage. And they were like, oh, he's not just trying to sell to us.
Exactly.
And like they loved it.
Yeah.
So it worked.
Yeah, and all you were doing there is just treating them like people.
Sure.
You asked them those questions so you knew what worked for them. So you guided them in the right direction of what they actually should book for their wedding day. So without that prior information, you do come across as salesy because you're just trying to force something that doesn't fit. So you need the context to actually sell the right thing to the right person.
But it's also practice. Like like I said before, I've never had enough leads to have enough practice to be able to talk through these points. And now like I'm recording all my Zoom chats and watching them back and being like, oh, what could I have done different? But like when you actually have enough Zoom calls coming through, like even if it's 4 or 5 a week, you're like, oh cool, I didn't do this last time. This time I can do this and see if it makes a difference. And like I said, at the end of that call, like it was the first time ever that I've actually been like, this sounds awesome to me. Does it sound good to you? And they were like, yes. And I was like, so do you want a book? And they're like, yes. And I was like, sick. Like I've never had that. Like usually it's like, cool, see ya and let me know. And then I'm just kind of waiting and like hoping someone books at some point.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. Recording your Zooms is really vital as well. It's really good to just be able to see yourself back. It's a bit cringy at the start. You're like, oh, I can't believe I said that.
How many people do Zooms calls?
Yeah, cool. But what you can actually do is do you record it with Loom or something similar?
No,
just
actually
through Zoom?
within Zoom,
Yeah, cool. You can use an application called Loom, and just get the transcript, throw it into ChatGPT and just ask it what you can do better. And then it just says this.
Awesome. Love that.
Yeah, so that's really cool. But as you said, like you need to, like you don't want to throw things at the person. And since you asked them all those questions, you had the right package for them. Then you ask them the simple question if they're interested. And you set that expectation of asking them whether they actually want your service. And they booked with you right there. So you'd already gone through everything else. You've already warmed them up. You've built that trust, and then you told them exactly what they needed. And then you just simply ask them on that call, are you guys interested? Now that's great. I always like to do that. It's quite powerful to get an idea of where that lead's sitting on that call. But you know, some people aren't ready to book as well. But it is nice, you know, if they are keen, they're ready, but they might just need finances to get sorted.
So Steve, so when they said yes, like were you like, you gonna click now, or like what did you do?
No, I was just like, look, I'll send you through the formal quote after this, and just like kind of told them exactly like, cool, it's just like this tiny little questionnaire, a contract, and the deposit info. And that was so like literally it was half an hour later they'd signed the contract and paid the deposit and everything.
Were you just waiting there?
I was just like waiting, just like looking at my phone, waiting for Tave to say yes.
Cool.
But then like the other like another day it didn't work where I said like, hey, cool, I'll reach back out to you on Wednesday and we'll chat about this, and they're like, cool, sounds good. And then on Tuesday they came back and they're like, look, you know, we've decided to go elsewhere. But still that like usually those people wouldn't come back to me. I'd just be like just waiting and just like, oh, I guess they went somewhere else.
Yeah, and exactly. That's because you set that expectation of you're going to check in with them on Wednesday. That's so crucial. Every part of the journey they need to know exactly what you're going to do next. So that is one of the most important things about like that Zoom call as well. Obviously, you've given them the right package. Either you get an answer or you don't, but you get an idea of where they're sitting. But you need to set an expectation of when you are actually going to follow up. So say it's Monday. I would say, you know, yep, I'll give you kind of till Friday. Is that enough time to check over the quote? I'll check in with you on Friday. Normally they're like, yep, that sounds perfect. Otherwise, they'll just say, no, we need another week.
Yeah.
We have some other calls, or we just need to get our finances in check. It's
Yeah.
doesn't ever feel like sticky or gross. So we're just giving them that guide that we're going to reach back out on that Friday.
Yeah.
So, and if they found someone else, fine, that's great. They come to you at that point anyway, without you even having to reach back out, because they know that you're going to check back in with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's saves the guesswork that we have to go through in
It's
business.
so nice not to get ghosted.
I
Like
know.
for someone to actually say, like, we don't want you. I'm like, thank you. Like, thanks for just letting me know.
Exactly.
Now you're not going to get 7 emails. Like,
exactly.
that's good.
And look, that is why the follow-up system is so important.
Yeah.
With both normal emails and your quote follow-ups, which I'll get into in a second. It just allows people to either, it'll keep you top of mind, so they're constantly looking at your work, but also if they've gone elsewhere, you actually know.
Yeah.
And you get a solid answer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you kind of will just have that lead sitting in your mind. You might get a few $1,000 extra, but in there, like, they've completely discounted you.
Yeah.
So without following up with people and getting that answer, you just don't know what's going on. So it's so important to just follow up with people and keep the conversations flowing. And a really good way to do this is, obviously you've sent the quote. You should be quoting every single person that you have a conversation with on a Zoom. You build that package, send everyone a quote.
Okay.
Because you don't want someone to come back to you and say that we're ready to book in, because they need the information in front of them to just go through and talk with their with their partner.
Yeah.
So provide them with everything so they can just say, yep, we're ready to go ahead. And you send that quote after the Zoom, so then they can just look at it in their own time.
Yeah, cool.
So it's obviously already packaged. It looks the same that they've seen on the pricing guide. So every single Zoom, people should get a quote, and then you've set that expectation of when to follow up.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but following up a few times with a quote is super important as well, because people get busy, they forget, and just guiding them through with different points of follow up by asking them different questions. And it's quite nice to follow up with them and just simply say, do you guys have any different questions about the quote? Have you looked at anyone else, or is there something that's stopping you from going ahead? People come back when you ask that, and they have something else that they might want to add in, or they might ask, do you offer raw footage or something like that? And that could be the thing that gets them over the line.
Yeah.
Without following up and asking them that question, you're just they're gonna book with someone else that provides that information in front of them.
Yeah.
So just following up with them is just so vital.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't have to be gross. It just can be asking them that next point of question to give them that next expectation of what to actually do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So communication is the most important thing in business, because we're in the service industry. We have to communicate with clients, and we have to communicate what we do best and why we want to actually rock up.
Yeah.
So that is literally my whole sales funnel.
Yep.
That's how I've booked all the weddings I have, and that's what we implement with Wedding Marketing Co.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so powerful if you're just building these communication barriers with people and just giving them the information about you and about what you offer. Yeah.
So do you set up all these systems before you even go to the marketing side, right? Like before you go into it with a client?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, so everybody here likely has leads sitting in their account that just haven't been properly attended to. If people haven't either sent the right follow-ups or just given the right communication, formats by calling or texting, there'd be leads already sitting there, money sitting on the table, ready to go. So that's what I did. I implemented all my follow-up procedures first. What I had to do, I did the homework and figured out how to actually put these things into practice, because all this is just marketing knowledge, but you niche it down into your specific area and change it a little bit for weddings. So it takes a little bit to kind of figure these things out. But luckily, there are info packets out there we offer, we have a podcast, as do you, that really dives into these systems in business and things like that. So I highly recommend to reshift the whole system side of things first, and then go full steam ahead with ads. Because without that, you haven't built up the experience of knowing how to kind of use the influx of leads. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask the crowd a few questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Even who's still getting organic leads, as many as they used to? I'm that's good to know. About half-ish? Because people are that I speak to are very similar to me. I'm not good at branding, I'm not good at social media, so I'm not getting any organic whatsoever. And I'm in the point where it's 6 months ago or whatever, how I was saying, I'm doing all the collectives, I'm doing every single thing I could do to kind of build my business, and nothing helped whatsoever. And for like, this is just for my business. Like for me, it's all pay to play. Like I can plan the most, beautiful month of planning on Instagram, and then still like no one sees it and I get no bookings. Does anyone have any more pointed questions for ads? Like it's pretty hard to go, I guess, really deep dive into ads, but like, what do people want to know about like meta ads that are here? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would do, what type of service would you actually be talking about? Yeah, for sure. Well, what I would do for that instance, a lot of people do look for celebrancy and MC. It's not often that they would look for the whole trio. So I would probably do celebrant MC and then make it very clear, I guess, that you do offer the three. But then with the money that you make from that, you just have another separate landing page and you'd have another separate ad that has either all three or focuses on the DJ side of things. But it just comes down to what people are actually interested in. That's not, I guess, my direction of field. So I don't know how many people want to go all three. But for instance, we always, if you're doing photo and video, we always go photo and video in one, and we get so many leads that are just photo and just video. So people do get the.
Do you find that most people are looking, like, is that an upsell having like being the celebrant and also MC? Is it the same with photo video where people like they're going to book you more often because you do both? Would it be worth like for you? if you didn't get both the celebrant and the MC role, would that be worth you not taking the job because you didn't get both? Only because like most couples I'm talking to now, I'm like, look, I'm only doing photo video for the rest of the weddings for 2025. And I know that I'm going to be throwing away some weddings for photo, but for me, it's worth throwing that away. So that's why I was kind of asking.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what I would do is I would include everything just on one landing page. So all of the information for all 3 different services, just clearly lay that out. I'd probably put like a celebrant and MC kind of linked, and then also make it very clear that you do offer DJ as well. But with that, I'd just test all 3 different variations of like celebrant, MC, celebrant and MC, and then all the trio, because people might be, then you get that data to see where they're kind of gravitated towards. But make it very clear on that landing page that you do service everything, because people, they don't have to be gravitated, like they might just come because you're celebrant and MC and you know that ad performs better, but they're really interested in that DJ once they've seen a bit more information on that actual page. So it's just about seeing what people actually bite with ads. It's different to like organic socials, but I would test like celebrant and MC and then the trio, but have all of the information easily available.
I'd say by the time someone's looking for a DJ, you've already lost the job. Like realistically, like if someone's just looking for a DJ, the celebrant job's gone. Any other questions from? Yeah.
Yeah, cool. What I would do, so in between both appointments, you would say it's about 3 to 6 months. Well, you know, that would just be some more admin work on the back end. So what you could do is, you know, put together some photos or some videos of a really recent, you know, like a really good wedding that you guys just had at the venue, and just simply say, look, this is a couple. It has to be kind of in the same frame as well. There's someone in the same vibe of that day. Just like, look, this is someone who just experienced what you could experience through our venue. when you came and had our first appointment, you asked all of these questions. This is what you're interested in, and this fits the exact vibe. And they kind of lived exactly how you wanted to live. The photos are obviously super important, so you'd have to reach out to the photographers and stuff. But just checking in with them, and you don't need to be as forceful or as frequent with that, because it is a big process and it is over a longer time span. Like, we only really have 2 weeks to kind of lock someone in before they find someone else.
Yep.
A venue, it takes a little bit longer. They have to visit multiple places. They might have to travel. So you could just do like every 3-4 weeks, just a simple check-in, providing that new piece of information, or maybe what else they should consider when they're looking at different venues. Just asking them, or just guiding them in that direction of, here's what you should ask the next venue people, or here's what to consider when you plan a venue. Look for the light, look for the place for wet weather option, look for the locations for photos. Give them all that information so they can, even if they don't have that decision with you, they might go to someone else and they have a better informed decision. So you're helping them anyway. And then if they had a bad experience at that other venue, they might recommend you guys from that point forward. So all you want to do, like every time that we check in with people, we just want to guide them and ask them questions as well, but also tell them kind of what they should expect when they're going through that journey. And if they have that information, then when they're ready, they would have seen that, and they'll just come back, we're ready, and thanks so much for helping me. Yeah.
We better wrap this up.
Yep.
Just for time wise. But if you guys have more pointed questions, you can come up to you and ask you questions, Steve, as well.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, look, today we kind of breezed over a lot of things. Like, this is a very in-depth conversation about actual strategies of how to, like what to say in these instances, what to say in your emails and things like that. It's a very in-depth conversation because there's a lot of points. And there's a lot of points in how to actually advertise as well. So what we're doing with Wedding Marketing Co is we're actually, we've built up a course and we're building up a community, and we're giving like everybody here free access to that as well, because we're going to launch that just to build up the information in the industry. Because there isn't, when I was trying to build up my business, there was none of this. Yeah. There's no business side variations for specific to wedding industry. So we're trying to increase that in the whole wedding market. So we're going to give everybody just a free input, because what we want to do is we want everyone to rip our course to shreds. Yep. We're doing a cohort, so a 3-month stint where we guide people through what to change in their business. Awesome. But we haven't done this before. We've built it, and like we know what we're doing, but we need people to come in, rip it to shreds, tell us what to do, tell us what to change, because getting feedback is obviously the best way to do things. So if anyone's interested, or if anyone has questions for me, just come up and we can chat, have some conversations, and then I'll get you guys to sign up. And there's no catch. I'm not going to sell you on anything. It's just going to be free, so we can kind of build up the rapport of what to actually do and how to actually give this information out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, mate.
Thank you.
Cool, guys.
Awesome. Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
it.
Coming up, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wedco podcast. We're dropping a fresh episode every week featuring industry professionals dishing out the wedding wisdom you need to turn those dreams into reality. Make sure you are following us on social media, you have those notifications turned on so we can help plan your wedding day. Your dream wedding day just got a whole lot easier. Thanks for listening.